So hello and a very warm welcome here to Lunch and Learn webinar from WeShape Tech. We are very happy to have you all here. First information, very important, you see maybe a red button. That means that this webinar will be recorded right now so that we can put it on our webpage. So just for you to know, if you feel uncomfortable with that, so please, you're allowed to stop your camera. And so here we are. The reason this is about the 13th or 14th Lunch and Learn that we have here with our fantastic guest today, Esther, Christina, Wapenaar. She is right now in Gstaad, but actually she works also at Google, and she's the big reason why we're here, and we're very happy and glad to have her here. But before we start about her, just a little bit introduction about me. So hello everybody, I'm Sabrina Skenardi. Actually, I work for Innovation and Digital from SIX Group, Swiss Stock Exchange, maybe you know them, or Financial Information. So we're about a couple of different business units doing business in the world. And that's the reason why I'm here, I'm board member from WeShape Tech. On WeShape Tech, we have different board members, and every board member have kind of other topics that he's also working on. Of course, all of us are doing webinars, but for example, my specialty is podcasts and books. So I love to read, especially to hear a lot. So you will find also on our webpage kind of a lot of podcasts or tips. So please feel free and go and learn. And of course, write me back if you have a book that you say that you should really read. I'm happy to learn. So from today, what do we have on our Lunch and Learn? So we are just in the introduction about WeShape Tech. I will start and make it very, very quick because a lot of you, I saw it on the attendee list, they join a lot on our webinars. So I don't want just to tell you things that you still know, but a little bit advertisement, of course, we will do. And then here is then our knowledge transfer, Esther with her keynote from Google. Then, of course, the stage is yours. Always questions, Q&A, that's very important to interact with people. And then we have here also introduction from Jane from Experis. Experis sponsored this event here because they're also recruiting people with a focus on women on tech also. And she will give you a lot of tips, what you should do, how you can promote yourself at best. And this is a service that we really want to share with you because you know it's very important that women support women and that we really know how to get good jobs also in this tech environment, which is not so easy to get a job as a woman. And then I would say it depends how long you have questions, at least at 1 o'clock, it's done. So what is WeShape Tech? WeShape Tech is a platform for greater diversity and inclusion in tech. So you see we have a community, which is the center kind of a web page where we present role models. We write about role models that you can learn. We are actually now 5 members, which drives through and pushing through our community. And with the offerings, what we are doing is kind of, we support female talent through our network and empowerment. So that's also why Experis is here. Of course, if you look also for jobs, so we try to connect women in innovation, in technology, but also diversity to bring people together who love these topics. Share and transfer knowledge is very important. That is also why we on our webpage just don't make advertising for events, but also a lot of kind of texts about role models. We make book tips, as I told you, podcast tips. You get a newsletter, which is very, very a lot of informations about it, just that we write together just for you with very curated content. And this is really the benefits that we believe that we give you. And that's also why the reason that we want to inspire you. Yeah. So inspiring people and the world for tech innovation, this is just something which is very important for us. And of course, that's why we are here, discussion, dialogue, to bring people together. And that's also why I told you the reason that you can write in the chat. So you see each other, write a short introduction about your name, about your company, where you work, that you can get the best networking also out of this Lunch and Learn, because we're not going to provide you a list with names who was in here in this call. So it's up to you, help yourself. So write in the chat and connect each other. It's very important. We have also, as I told, the newsletter. course, you can, I guess a lot of you have them. You can click on them and you will get about all 5 weeks the best informations with always a very good intensive description about a role model where you can get inspired and learn how she did her career in tech, what she thinks about innovation and diversity. And that's the reason why we're here. Esther, she's in Gstaad right now, and she will tell us, and it's not, I'm not kidding, about babies. Yeah. Yeah, actually, but it's really true. It's also a lot about babies, but behind it is a platform, and that's the reason why she's here. And I would say, Esther, the stage is yours. I'm gonna stop here, and the audience, of course, if you have questions, write it in the chat. I will go through them and give you then the questions to hand over to Esther. So I will stop my screen here. Thanks a lot of you, and Esther, about babies and platforms.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Actually, so Sabrina just asked me how I slept last night before this big event, and I said I slept like a baby. She's like, well, that's a great introduction to start your presentation with. Yes, so welcome. My name is Esther Wapenaar. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This is my first time, so please, I will stutter, I will be nervous, and if I don't know the answer to your question, I will always come back to you after. I'm Esther Wapenaar, and I'm a program manager at Google. I didn't become a program manager overnight. In fact, I failed 2 rounds of interviews before I was hired by Google, and I had a successfully failed startup. I say successfully failed because I don't think any failed startup is a drama if you take away some successful learnings from it. So here you see a bit of my career step, or my career in general. Actually, I started completely outside of tech, and I think what We Shape Tech is doing today is amazing, because you're really showing women that you can eventually or already start in tech if you have the right keys or the right knowledge available for how to do this. I started as a facility manager. I studied in Switzerland, started working in the Netherlands, where I was born and raised, at TBP Electronics in data analysis. And then after a year or 2, I said, I really want to go back to Switzerland. And I said, I'll do anything. And I ended up as a TVC at Google. TVC means temp, vendor, or contractor. So you're not internally hired by Google, but you're working on a contract-based for Google, which is usually maximum 2 years. And the work you're doing is very basic. I was actually just rating all the images on that show up on Google Shopping. But still, I managed to do some bigger projects with the teams there and build a big network within Google. So when I transferred back to a full-time position in Samsung, the team at Google still knew me. They knew what I was doing. I was able to catch up with them if I needed. And especially in my time when setting up my startup, Ellie-Sitter, I was working for Samsung, and I still had my network from Google to help me. After a few years, I think about 3 years, I went back to Google because they asked me if I could take on a 6-month maternity leave coverage. And from there on, I actually managed to get into the temporary position that I am, or into the fixed position that I am today. So we have a pretty packed agenda. I have 25 minutes, so I'm going to run you through it and answer your questions as soon as possible. So first, it takes a village to build the future. And today I'll be sharing my experience in how I built my own platform, and more specifically, how do you get your idea onto paper and into a product? As we all know, it does take a village to build the future, but what we don't do is actually create that village around us. While I was setting up Ellie-Sitter, I was very scared to share my idea because I was afraid people would steal it or people would be like having critique on it. But very fast, I realized that I needed that input and I needed help. So what I did is I went back to my network at Google and I asked some of the engineers to actually give me some details on the technical specifications that I would need. I'll go back into the idea in a bit, so don't worry. I'll answer the question to what Ellie-Sitter actually is. Financial aspects, something I'm totally unaware of. And luckily enough, I had an uncle who could help me here. So he helped me set up like all the financials for this. Project management, I mean, I was aware of the details of project management, but still I did need some input from my colleagues and just also to brainstorm with people on how to do stuff. And then the big aspect was marketing. And marketing is actually, it's something that we all think we know, but I mean, there's total education systems around it, right? So why would I, as a person that has never studied this, know anything about marketing? Now, there was a very lovely lady walking around at Samsung at the time who quit her job, and she was the marketing powerhouse, I would say, behind Samsung back then. And I went to her to ask her for advice. I was a bit scared to approach her because I was like, she's such a, she's the biggest person here. I don't know if I should ask those questions. What would she think? And in the end, she was so happy that I approached her. She actually asked me if she could join my idea. So with her, I had a business partner next to me, and I could start actually formalizing what I wanted to provide the people. But first, one step back before we get into this whole Ellie Sitter roadshow, I want to go back to the program management fundamentals. This is also what I do at Google. I'm a program manager, which basically includes managing many projects all together. So you have an understanding of the wider objective of many different projects that lead into one big program. You're planning everything around this. You're checking in on a daily basis with the team if everybody's on schedule, if everybody is aware of what they're doing, and you manage the program budget. Luckily, as I already said, my financial skills are terrible. At Google, we don't have to worry about that. So this is out of the picture. But we do manage stakeholders. I mean, there could be sales involved, there could be legal involved, and we all need to make sure that everybody is okay with what we're launching. So this is kind of how it looks like at Google. You're the PGM that manages the engineering teams. So you need to have a little bit of a technical background. You talk to the product managers, so the actual people that produce the products or that come up with the ideas. And as I said, you're working with sales, with legal, with UX, user experience, to help you guide launching a full program. So this is where the program manager lives at Google. A little bit about my journey within Ellie Sitter. So Ellie Sitter is a babysitting app, as Sabrina already briefly mentioned. I had the idea because I was a babysitter myself within the Dutch community, and everybody was asking me for hours and I couldn't provide because I was too busy. And I was like, okay, why not have a platform where they can log in, just like Uber or any other app. Back then it was less known, it was known already, but it was kind of, I wanted to simulate those concepts. Throughout the journey, I went through 3 platform designers. We had one extra financial injection, but in the end, we managed to get 1,200 sitters on the platform and about 500 parents. By the end of 2020, we liquidated the company because of various hurdles that came along the way, but I'll talk about that later. So phase 1 of an idea. My idea literally looked like this. It was a scribble on paper. I think I made a round with a cup, and then I tried to draw an elephant, and this is what it turned out to. It was more an idea in my head that I had under the shower, and I was like, you know what? I think I should maybe, get something on paper. The second phase became a bit better, and this was also the phase wherein I started to write down the details. So, okay, if we're going to launch a babysitting app, who are we serving? What do they need? Like, it was more getting the things concretely on paper. When I had this document, I could say that this was the third phase wherein we actually started to develop the app. And this is the elephant that it eventually turned out to be. You see, I definitely got a designer because this is something I would have never gotten in place. So with that business model, I went into the 5 steps of digital happiness, I'd like to call it. We're going to dive a little bit into the technicalization of bringing your idea into paper and into an actual product. Of course, I'm going to leave out a lot of these steps, but if you are interested, I'm happy to have a one-on-one with you to actually go through more of the details. So number 1, identifying. What is it that you actually want to achieve with your idea? In my case, Elisitter existed out of 4 factors that I really wanted to make sure would resemble in the product. So I wrote them down. It needed to be a simple workaround, safe and secure services, a friends network-based selection, and very internationally focused. These were the things that I got from actual research that I did, talking to your friends, setting out surveys, talking to your network, and really pitching your idea to everyone. As I said, no one's going to steal it because it actually takes a lot of determination and passion to turn an idea into an actual product. So number 2 is modeling the idea that you have in mind. The DRA method, decision requirement analysis, is a method wherein you analyze the steps that are required for your users to get the results they need in your product. In our case, the users were parents and sitters. And the goal of the app was for parents to find sitters and for sitters also to find a job. I'm going to walk you through this method by the following steps. Here, we started to actually map the user journey and see what were the actual needs of the users that they would have to see into the app. So here, for instance, the first would be a small animation of the logo, the actual logo that we designed. And what I wanted and I had in mind was that the bubbles would actually like pop and it would be very cute. Those things you forget very easily because it's all money and you don't want to focus on that. So you just dive into the actual needs of your user. So first things first, there was a parent sign-up flow. And okay, what do you need for that to actually materialize? So you look at what are the details that I need from the parent. I need a name. I need an address. They need to be able to provide a password or the numbers of kids. All these needs you should write down in this phase. Here, for instance, you have the landing page of the app. So you can imagine any app, let's say Uber Eats, where you should be able to upload your credit card details. You should be able to create like a request. So you want to search for restaurants. But in this case, we just needed to have them be able to create a booking and to update their profile. So these were the details that we needed for that. The second step is redesigning that manual process. So you kind of have in mind what your user needs to be able to do in your app. And with this, you're going to draw a diagram. And in this case, you can see you need to be opening a page. You need to select if you're a parent or a sitter. You need to be able to sign up and log in. So each box here is actually a different user journey. So if we go to the next, we see here that we took one of the boxes of the previous presentation and we map it out into the needs that we need to provide within the app. So for instance, a parent wants to look for a sitter. And we need to determine which sitters do we show to the parents. These things are based on a few aspects. And in this case, it's price, time, and location. Location, because you want the sitters to be close to the parents. Time, because we need to be sure that the sitter actually has time to join. And price, there's a wide range of what people are able to pay or wanting to pay. So these are the aspects that we need to take in mind within the technicalization of that workflow. And in the end, when you have all those workflows mapped, you can start designing your app and create these mocks. And with these, all these technical aspects and all these user flows together, you can go to your designing team and ask them, okay, could you build this for me? what we did is I took on a designing team. And as I said, we had about 3 developing teams throughout the entire process. I took them on early so they could help me kind of schedule this and see like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So it's a lot of back and forth that you're doing with those teams to actually come to the optimal process and for them to an actual viable product to build.
Today is Wednesday.
This is actually going to the next step is reviewing the Redesign business process. So with that idea that you have and have discovered with the designing team, you still need it to fit to your actual business goals that you set in the beginning. Our business plan had 3 services that we wanted to incorporate, but we quickly realized that with all those different phases and all those different user cases and like complexities within the process, that we were not going to be able to make it to these 3 phases in the first place. So we just focused on safe and simple. So easily parents could go onto the app, search for a sitter, and the entire negotiation would be between the sitter and the parent. So we would be out of that. The other phases would have gone into the negotiation phase, and we would actually let the parents be able to pay through the app or book extra services. So since that was in the beginning not very feasible, we decided to leave that out. Now here I'm highlighting the timeline and financials of the entire process. As you can see, we were very optimistic about our earnings. We estimated to have a profit of 200,000 by the end of 2 years, and also implemented all the different phases of the app. Unfortunately, we didn't get to that, but still. So the implementation phase of the actual technical product. A good idea is about 10% implementation, hard work, and luck is 90%. Well, I don't really agree with that, I would say. I think it's 90% hard work, 10% implementation, and luck is something that you get by working hard. As you can see, this is the entire life cycle of the process. So by identifying goals in the beginning, as I spoke about, you're looking at what is the document as is. So how is the today's situation? You're designing the optimized process, the DRA or DRD, and then you can go into validating that process and getting in touch with the technical teams and the implementation phase. Throughout this presentation, I mainly focused on the validating of the process and talking to the engineering teams. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the implementation phase has so many different details. The actual documentation phase has so many other details. I think it would be too much to all cover in 25 minutes here. So in the end, this is how the app actually looked. So from all those amateuristic drawn schemas, we came to an app that actually was able to be used by our parents. They were able to make a booking. They were able to see the sitters, find some information about the sitters, and confirm times. And the sitters were able to reply to that. It was a whole full process. But what happened? Because as you guys know, today I'm working for Google and I'm not running a multi-million business as I hoped to be doing today. We identified that there were different user needs. So Switzerland is a high quality market, and it seems like the sitters aren't as much looking for jobs as they would be in, for instance, my home country, the Netherlands. Youngsters have different types of side jobs, and they either do, like they would work in a bar or do some weekend jobs, but not as much babysitting. Also, the parents weren't willing to pay as much as we thought they would have. So we were looking at a financial conflict between the sitters asking for maybe too much and the parents willing to pay too little. Also, I always had a full-time job while I was doing this. So in the end, I think it got to me, and I would have quit. I should have quit a job in order to be able to run this full-time. My business partner did quit her job, and she was running it full-time, but it needed two hands or two sets of hands. And then next, new opportunities came along the way. Google noticed that I was doing this, and the team was very eager to learn more about my skills, and they wanted to actually hire me. So I went for the safe option and started my job at Google. And that's a bit about my story for any sitter. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Esther. Yes, there is one in the chat. Maybe you can also open it. Here is from Mark. Maybe Mark, you can unmute yourself and ask the question also if you want. It gets more personal. Otherwise, I'm gonna read it. But please, Mark.
Mark, we can't hear you, but I can read your question. So your question is, if you would have to pick one of the biggest challenges throughout the startup period, what was it and how did you deal with it? I think it would be finding people to work with, and how, like, I think, yes, the people aspect of working with other teams and managing expectations. So when you're working in a company, you can have a colleague that you're maybe not really fond of, or things are not really going very well with, but you can actually quite easily shut that down. Like that, if you shut down your computer, that relationship is gone. I think within a startup, it's very hard because you're talking about your own baby, and ironically babysitters, but it's really your own baby, and you really want to make everything right. So having a difficult designing team can really get to you, and you really need to be able to stand up for yourself and highlight the issues that you have with that team in an early stage, because those things can linger on and it can affect the eventual quality of your product.
Thank you, Esther. There is another question from Chanel Greco. Please, you can also ask the question, otherwise you can see it.
Sure.
Chanel, hi, nice to have you here.
So I'm not quite sure if I understood the slide correctly, but did you have 3 different engineering teams working on the app?
Yes, we started with the first that eventually, so when I say 3 different engineering teams, I mean we had 3 different teams that actually individually worked on the app. So the first team, they were in the beginning bidding a very reasonable price, but in the end, it turned out that for every little extra detail or for every extra user flow, they were charging us more. So the calculation turned out to be, I mean, the investment was going to be double the price. So that was the first. The second team, it just didn't really click between them and us. So we didn't find like the synergies within working together. They didn't really understand what we needed. And then the third team, actually, these things came together. And the initial price of the third team was maybe a bit higher, but I would say sometimes quality goes over quantity. And that's why we had 3 different teams.
Thank you. Other questions?
So I can go for Shirley. Hi, everyone. I'm Shirley. I'm a data scientist, and I love empowering women in tech. I currently work as a data science teaching assistant in Academy in Zurich, and I'm interested in taking the next step in my tech career. Hi, Shirley. If you have any questions, then feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn about it. What I can say is I took a lot of opportunities along my way. So I came from facility management and ended up in tech because I was willing to go for that smaller role instead of bidding for the big guns. Basically, I got hired a second time as a TVC. So maybe it wasn't really the level that I was at, but I was willing to actually like start small and then grow within the role. Maybe that's some of the tips that I could give you here. Great, thank you very much. Janine, would you like to ask your question or should I read it out?
I can ask it. Now that you know better, what would you do differently if you would start again, knowing that the Swiss market is something different from the Dutch one?
I would take more investors. So I think, I mean, we needed more marketing budget in Switzerland and maybe a different financial scheme as well. So the Dutch market was very much, it was profitable for the app designers, for instance, to take away 1 franc per hour babysit. So per babysitting hour. In Switzerland, 1 franc is a bit, it wouldn't scale as much. Another thing with the Swiss market is it's a fairly small country. We're 7 million, of course, and there's 3 different languages. So that also meant 3 different languages on the app. It meant 3 different languages of sitters that we were looking for. All those aspects made it very hard to actually scale.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolina, we'll be sending you the presentation for sure. How difficult, Fardon is asking, was it to find customers and babysitters? So we used Facebook a lot and we found a lot of babysitters through Facebook and it went very fast. We were setting up a lot of campaigns, sign up now, and it would cost us about, I would say it was about 500 francs, I would say, per month to actually run these campaigns on Facebook. You could do it very targeted. And we really saw the amount of sitters rise exponentially. The problem we had with it though is what they usually say, the conversion rate of a download is about 2%. So expect 300 people to sign up or to download something, but actually to use it would be 2%. And that's why I go back to the question that Janine asked. The scaling process in Switzerland is very hard. So we had interests, but actual users was very difficult.
Thank you for the answer.
Maybe other question for me, maybe as a host, I hope it's possible. So if you said that you looked for people from Facebook, so if you're gonna hire me and I'm gonna hit the baby, so how is it about that? You get legal problems, or did you check out what kind of people said, yes, I'm a babysitter, or just said, fantastic, Sabrina, match, and then you just...
So it was the responsibility of the parents. That was our idea for the first phase. As I mentioned, we had 3 different phases that we wanted to implement. The second phase would have been that we would actually do a cross-check. So they would either have to give us a document, a legal document, where they would confirm that they don't have any history, like criminal history, all these sorts of things. In the third phase, we would actually make them take a babysitting course. But those are all investments, of course, because babysitting course would have been 150 francs at the time. Getting those documents would cost the sitter also about 40 francs. So we decided to opt in for the first version. Another security check that we wanted to implement in the first phase was to get referred by friends. So one of the USPs of Elisitter was also that it should be a friends by friends introduction. So on Facebook, we could have very easily shown the parents like, oh, this sitter has been, I don't want to say used, but has been hired by your friend X, and it was a great experience. So that would have been, if we would have gone on the long run, the security process.
So more going of earned media and earned marketing style. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's very good. Thanks. Sorry, other questions?
Ludwig, I see there is a question. Wouldn't have been the Swiss market not be other than to offer similar to Germany, a daycare mother group? Mother takes care one day, the other day it switches. If I understand your question correctly, you're asking if there is different setups that we could have implemented. Is that correct, Ludwig?
Yes, Esther, that's right. Thanks a lot for taking it up.
Yes, I mean, there were we were exploring different setups, and I think if we would have had the investment of time, we might have been able to explore different setups. But unfortunately for us, since we were so tight-handed in this whole process with time, we couldn't actually go into that process of launching it and seeing how that would work. What we did do is we tried to work with Kitas together, so the daycare systems, where they could, for instance, provide their staff on our babysitting app. And through that, the parents would already know the babysitter because their kid goes to Kita there, and they could hire that babysitter through our app. So for instance, I think Globe Garden or something there is in Zurich. So we would have a logo on like the babysitter on the app saying this is a Globe Garden certified babysitter. So that's how we were trying to explore different ways of trying the parents to get engaged within the app.
Mm.
And trust, I think it's all about trust at the end.
Oh, yes, also that. Does that answer your question, Ludwig?
Yeah, that does fully answer my question. It's a fantastic project you did. Really, I really looking up at it. It's a fantastic thing. I still have a bit of a kind of a different opinion, because Switzerland is actually what takes or care kids, baby caring. It's a very expensive thing actually. So if you look at day caring, even if you bring your kids to a daycare, it urges down more or less almost entire salary now. So,
yes, exactly. Yes.
Therefore, I believe that in Germany there's a daycare mother actually who's taking care on a couple of kids Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for instance, and Friday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, someone else is taking care of a bunch of kids now, and they know each other. So it's a kind of thing of, let's say, kid sharing, whatsoever.
You're actually you're reviving my passion for the whole subject. It's been 2 years now since I buried it, but you're very right. Yes, I think how great would it have been if those mothers could have signed up to the app and create their pool of sitters or pool of kids to babysit. We did look into going into the German market for a little bit, but yeah, unfortunately, again, the time space in our minds and hands.
My heart opens up for the topic as well, because I go even a step further down, that I believe that we should include also elderly people being somewhere in an elderly home and still strong enough taking care or playing with kids, which would be a taking and a giving. So it's under supervision actually. You include older people and they've got more sense in life, having all those young kids around. It should be combined. It's a wonderful idea, and that should be taken up actually. So it's something probably I will force in somewhere in Einsiedel where I'm living and go there to the older, once COVID is over, of course. Now it's a bit tricky, but this general idea, I guess, I mean, we've all grown in a village. It's not just about parents raising their kids. It's the entire village is raising kids.
Exactly.
And that's something.
And actually, my business partner was very much pro that. She had great ideas around including the entire community and really making this it takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to build a product, but also to raise a kid. And yeah, that was one of the thoughts we had in mind as well. I'm going to continue to the questions because I see there's a few left. I see Shirley. Sophia will be taking up contact with Shirley. That's great. Carolina, we are the engineering team based. Where are the engineering team based in Switzerland, or did you work internationally? That's a really great question, actually. We started off with regionally based engineering teams, and in the end, the last team that we worked with was Viable Labs, and they are based in Switzerland, but their teams are in the Ukraine. And we were also able to actually directly communicate with the teams in the Ukraine, which was great. But still, we had that very short connection within Switzerland, so we could actually go and meet the team here and then do all the offline work with the team in Ukraine. It gave us more of a sense of security, I think, that it was based here. All the payments went through Switzerland, but I wouldn't. I mean, if I would do this again, I wouldn't be opposed to actually fully working international. Then Ludwig, you also had another question if you think trust is an issue and to convince mothers. I think we kind of covered that.
Right.
All right. Carolina, you're asking if I consider targeting students from Fachhochschule, is that FH?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so Fachschule and PH, which is for like primary school teachers or something like that.
Yes, we also try to contact them. As I quickly described also to Ludwig, we try to include the Kitas within the product, within our process. And what we also did by maybe just the targeting students, we were handing out flyers into the student homes to actually target students in Switzerland, in Zurich, in Lucerne. We went to Geneva, to Bern, just physically put in the flyers into their mailbox. We also try to work with the Red Cross because a lot of babysitters are coming from the Red Cross where they can do their courses. So we were offering them to sign up on the webpage. So we've tried to explore a lot of angles, but in the end, yeah, for us, it was just too time consuming, unfortunately. And we didn't see the return on investment as soon as we hoped for us to actually make a living out of it.
Cool. Thanks a lot. My quick question, it came spontaneously, yeah? So kind of, the app is now here. Have you thought about to make a kind of white label? That if I came to you and say, oh, I have the idea to match students with teachers because I'm in the gymnasium and I'm not so good in maths, I need just come hours. It's the same thinking as you book a sitter, you know, so you have to match two people. So would you give me your app and as a white label, and I can change from babysitters to students and teacher and so on? That would work. Have you thought about that?
We try to, at the end, sell the app or sell the technical aspects of it. One of the reasons why we didn't proceed with that is that the developing team said it's not that easy to copy paste. You would be changing so much within the process flows that it's maybe easier to actually start from scratch.
Okay.
So as I was saying, like all those user workflows that you are building, and like it's so specific to that one use case that it might be more worth it to actually just start from scratch.
Okay. Yeah, I thought if you're looking for a teacher and a student for a math hour, I think just from the first time it looks very similar. But of course, if you go to the details, it could be different. Mm-hmm. So thanks a lot. So you get from me a real audio applause. The others, please, they can write in the chat. Just clap your hands. Thanks a lot, Esther, for your time. And we're really good on time. It's 1:45. So I would say here, Experis, Jane. Hello, Jane. We can't hear you. Yes, you're here.
You can hear me now.
The stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Hello, everybody. I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking through two things, really. Oh, Sabrina, can we have the first slide?
You see it, isn't it?
Oh, no, I don't see it.
Do the others see the slide?
There, now I see it.
Oh, okay, good.
So, yeah, so a couple of things that I would like to spend just a few minutes covering with you all. First of all, I would like to share some tips with you on how, as women looking at roles within IT, how we can best place ourselves in the market. But also, from an Experis perspective, we need to widen our own network of global IT professionals, and we would like to meet you and introduce ourselves to you. Experis is part of the Manpower Group, which is a global leader within the workforce solutions area. Experis is an IT specialist within the group. We work with clients such as UBS, Credit Suisse, Roche, Microsoft, etc. As a result of that, we have a global network that we can tap into very easily, but at the moment, we need more than that. So one of the reasons why we're here. Can we have the next slide, please? So as everybody will be aware at the moment, diversity inclusion is one of the very big topics that businesses are talking about. Clients are aware that there is a big gender imbalance with IT, and they're actively looking to reduce that. That's all well and good, but obviously we also want to see that people are doing things about it. And one of the things that quite a few of our clients are doing to encourage us to help with that is they are allowing us to submit additional CVs if there are women within the shortlist that we are using. So they are giving us the opportunity to promote more women into IT roles, but at the same time, I think that there are a number of pointers that we can give that will really help women promote themselves when they're looking to get themselves into this market. So as well as us coming to you saying, please be part of our network, we need more women to be able to talk to, there are also ways that you can do things that will help yourself a little bit. So, and next slide, please. The first interaction that anybody will have, or between a hiring manager and a candidate, is going to be the CV. And there's some really interesting studies around typical CVs and the differences between men and women. And if you bear in mind that the majority of hiring managers who are reading and receiving these CVs are men, then they are probably reading them in the same style that they would write their own. And that tends to be, men will have a shorter CV, they will use fewer words, they will also use more bullet points. They're very factual, they very much focus on work history and education. They use strong words such as developer, network, engineer. They will list specific technologies throughout their CVs like Java, C#, etc. And they will also put less personal data on their CV, for example, marital status or children. Women typically will write a longer CV. They will give much more of an overview of their situation where they are right now, and they will use softer words like organize, analyze, and assistant. So it's just one of those things that I think, bear in mind who is reading your CV. Don't change yourself, still put the facts in of who you are, but bear in mind who is going to be receiving and reading that CV. The next thing would be, next slide, please. Interviews. So at the moment, where there's obviously a lot fewer face-to-face interviews, much more based on the phone. And therefore, it's really important to allow and to be able to get your personality across on that phone call, on a Zoom. It's not the same as when you're in a face-to-face environment. And again, typically, women will be perhaps quieter about expressing their strengths. Men will tend to be more confident when expressing their strengths. And one of the things I think that we should all do is really appreciate what our strengths are and not be embarrassed about them, be really happy to put them forward and really be able to talk about what we can do, what we can take into this role, and be really confident about it. The other thing as well at the moment is availability. The geographical market at the moment for us finding candidates has really shrunk. We can't consider candidates, for example, from the UK at the moment to come into Switzerland. Fewer people are doing a weekly commute where they will go back to families at the weekend. People don't want to travel as much because of travel restrictions and quarantines. So as a result, a lot of clients are really focusing on who's here in the local market, who's available. And one of the things that we're seeing is if you are here, if you're available and there are opportunities, now is a really, really good time to be looking in the market and getting your profile out there, because local candidates are very much sought after. And the next slide, please. So really, it's as just a summary, and as I said to begin with, what we'd really like people to do is come and join our network, contact us if you're looking at opportunities. We're happy to give any kind of advice, help you through looking into the market, into different opportunities, and really try and promote getting more women into the IT opportunities that are out there. So thank you very much. I hope there was some help there.
Thank you, Jane. Some questions. We have still a little bit time, still 8 minutes. So there is a question, please. We are here for this. This is our community, here for you. Jane is here.
Is there any?
Otherwise, you can always contact her. There are questions? No, isn't it? No. So then, of course, you can contact Jane always, or also, as Esther said, ask her if you want to know more about her story, or maybe get the white label if it's not so expensive to make it for your business, right? And yes, otherwise, also we from WeShape Tech, we are always here for you. So I would say what happens this year was for WeShape Tech we had a fulminant start because we had the new web page in early February. So we launched it. So please go and check it out. And of course, we have more than 2,000 people in our community, but if you get 3,000 until the end of year, we are happy. So please sign up for our newsletter. And of course, if you loved Lunch and Learn, the next one will be on the 24th of March with Anna Hyde from McKinsey. And she's an expert about how to making teams in agile hubs. So another very important topic, who's very up to date to learn more about it. So in that case, I would say here are our addresses. Let's stay in contact. Thanks to Esther, thanks to Jane and to Experis that you sponsored this Lunch and Learn. We appreciate it a lot and hoped that we can share it with our community.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
So I would say we're a little bit earlier in time, but I think it's okay. Take these 5 minutes here in Zurich Oerlikon. I see the sun. It's not a joke. So take these 5 minutes for a quick walk and enjoy your family, your friends, and of course, stay safe. And maybe we'll see the next time, I guess, virtual, but if it's possible in a physical event, which we're waiting for, because this is the 1 year anniversary of the lockdown. Yeah. Doing everything virtual, and I guess we're all a little bit fatigued. So stay safe. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.